power is not found in the noise. It is found in the silence between the words. Most people believe that by talking more, they appear more intelligent, more influential, and more in control. They are mistaken. In reality, the more you speak, the more common you appear. You lose your edge. You become predictable. Every word you speak is a piece of information you give away for free. Every boast is a vulnerability revealed. Every explanation is a plea for approval. In the shadows of history, the greatest empires weren't toppled by armies. They were toppled by a single, foolish slip of the lip. Silence is a vacuum, and nature hates a vacuum. When you stop talking, the person across from you will start to panic. They will fill that silence with their secrets, their lies, and their fears. Silence isn't just a lack of sound, it's a weapon of war. Think of words as currency. If a country prints too much money, the value of that currency drops to zero. It is the same with your speech. When you babble, your words lose their weight. But when you speak rarely, every syllable is treated like gold. People lean in. They listen with an intensity that borders on fear. Silence is not just the absence of noise. It is a tactical vacuum. When you meet someone with silence, their instinct is to fill it. They will reveal their plans and their weaknesses just to stop the discomfort of the quiet. By addressing any questions in a less than perfect manner, you inevitably force others to compensate for the silence. And as people find themselves feeling uneasy, they naturally begin to talk about their feelings, their weaknesses, and the details of their lives. You aren't merely remaining quiet. You're in effect becoming a questioner without even asking a single question. Consider the renowned Roman hero, Coriolanus, a man who was exceptionally powerful, yet he found himself entrapped by his very tongue. He successfully managed battles with his sword, but sadly, he was unable to secure victory due to the lack of discourse. In ancient Rome, he was a god of war, but power on the field does not always translate to power in the halls of government. When he aspired to become a consul, his ego pushed him to disrespect the common folk. He spoke excessively, and he expressed his disdain in a manner that became too apparent. He stood before the masses and began to boast. He lectured them. He insulted their intelligence. He spoke so much and so arrogantly that the people began to realize he didn't care for Rome. He only cared for his own image. If Coriolanus had wisely remained a silent warrior within the political arena, people might have admirably projected greatness upon him. Instead, his words fundamentally shifted him to become unassuming. They transformed him into a target, making him a victim of exile due to the noise he created. He was later betrayed and killed. He could win a war with a sword, but he lost his life because he couldn't win a battle with his tongue. King Louis XIV of France. He ruled one of the most treacherous courts in human history. Every courtier was looking for a weakness, a slip of the tongue, or a hint of a king's favor. Louis employed this very tactic to eliminate the most influential figures on his throne with only 3 words: "I shall see." When his ministers would bring him a proposal, or when a subordinate would plead for mercy, the king would sit in total silence. He would listen to their long, nervous explanations for hours. His face remained a mask of stone. When they finally finished, sweating and exhausted from the effort of talking, Louis would stand up, look them in the eye, and deliver his 3 words. Then he would walk away. Although it didn't provide any necessary information, it certainly scared everyone involved. No one knew what he was thinking, because he said less than necessary. He kept the entire French nobility in a state of constant anxiety and awe. They couldn't plot against him because they had no information to work with. He was a shadow that could not be grasped. How can you effectively utilize Law 4? Start by initially focusing on adopting a short and somewhat ambiguous answer. When someone poses a highly complex question, you can follow suit by returning with a 5-word response. Observe how they become defensive and try to exploit the silence to gain an advantage. Do not explain yourself. Do Do not justify. The moment you begin to justify your position, you are admitting that the other person has power over you. If you are in a negotiation and the other side makes an offer, don't counter-offer immediately. Just look at them. Stay silent for 15 seconds. The very first person to speak after a proposal typically manages to lose the situation. This law must be used with precision. If you are too silent, you can appear suspicious. The goal is to be a mystery. Speak only when the words can have an impact. A king who speaks too much is eventually seen as a commoner. A commoner who speaks very little is eventually mistaken for a king. Undoubtedly, it is much more challenging to bounce back from blunders than it is to regain control and preserve silence. Always say less than necessary.